Hello there. Welcome to yet another episode of Velocity by Hawky.ai. Today we have a guest who have spanned across a really different career trajectory all the way from WPP content site writing to crafting award-winning campaigns with Kingfisher and then to leading brand teams at hyper-growth gaming giants like MPL and Gameskraft. And she is now in position where she is leading the brand for one of the India's fastest unicorns out there. And I really like the way how the journey has turned out. And let's try to understand from her the fundamentals of brand building and navigating brand building in this in 2026 and in today's world where things are changing rapidly. Happy to have today here, Anita. Hope we will have really great conversation with you today. Excited to learn a lot from you.
Thank you so much, Surendra, for that very intense introduction. And thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm really honored to be able to share whatever I've learned so far with you, with everyone who's listening in. And I hope somebody can pick few learnings from this and, maybe it helps them in their journey. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. And, thanks a lot again.
In-
So yeah, let's start from your journey, which is the most fascinating part I saw when I was going through what you've done so far. Yeah, why don't you take us through your journey all the way from content writing to, let's say, brand leading, and also now maybe like strategizing the way how the brands operate and so on, right? And we'll take it forward from there.
Sure. I think back in college, I always was very, aware that marketing is something that fascinates me. So I was very intrigued by how people write and how words become stories and how identities are formed from there. So I used to collect a lot of these college magazines in college, and I was like, one day I'll be heading this magazine. That was my dream back then. I'm talking 20 years ago, right? So I think that was sort of a kickstart and a trigger for me. And I was I'm a voracious reader. I read a lot. I read anything possible. So my brain is always like buzzing, right? So it's just probably natural that I would probably take to writing at some point or take to creative at some point. So I broke into the advertising scene largely in Bangalore, but back in Bombay, where I am from, it was more B2B, more long format, sort of industrial content, not so much creative writing. It was more of post writing and putting together articles and putting together curriculum pieces for different publishing formats.
Sure.
But deep down, I knew that I wanted to do advertising and I wanted to get into hardcore creative marketing. And I got that break in Bangalore. And in Bangalore, I joined agency. That was where my agency journey started. And then from the agency journey, that's where I think till date, I've been involved with brands, right? And started as a writer, and today I'm heading the brand function for Cull Store, which is the retail division for Cull. And it's been interesting for me because I never assumed that. I thought I would, peak at creative directing and never really move into brand. But as of 2026, it's a very synonymous role, I feel. Yeah, so that's just my journey so far. Yeah.
So, why don't you explain us in, let's say, really basic terms what Culstore is, what is the brand for, and how different is it is from the ecosystem of Fit. So, can you explain that, and maybe you can also tell what you do at Culstore.
So I'll answer one of your questions. The only difference that we are is that with the retail division, and that's probably in function and product. We are products, and Culfit is more the gym and the exercise, the fitness division. Really, we are the retail division, but we're not different. Other than that, we belong to mother brand Cult. We stand for the same thing. We stand for fitness. We stand for dynamism and movement. Right. That's literally, I think that's so, like I said, like in function, in business units, we are different, but at the very core, we both represent the same ethos that CULT stands for, which is moving and being better every day. What I do is I oversee brand for the 3, 4 different verticals that come under CULT store, which is equipment, indoor equipment, outdoor cycles, accessories, apparel, and footwear. And in that, we sort of have the whole channels are basically own channels, and which include our website, social, overseeing what the narrative looks like for growth. And while I don't oversee growth myself, I tag team very closely with the growth head, and we together figure out what a narrative should be like. And we also have stores outside in the ecosystem. So our own stores, and we have multi-brand outlets too. So it's a relatively new journey for me as well. I'm just barely 9, 10 months old in the system. The brand team is just about getting formed as well. So we are putting together, what this brand can do, and we're very excited. We're a small team, but we have big ambitions and big dreams, and we have a very enthusiastic, leadership as well who wants to kind of support us in this journey. So yeah, that's where we are at.
That's great, Anita. So, like, if you have to probably put cult store or maybe even cult in a single sentence, right? What does that brand stand for, as well as what is cult? If you have to put it in one sentence.
A cult thing that in a sentence is just making fitness accessible and consistent and bringing consistency to your life where consistency was not possible, right? And I think that is really what the differentiator for cult is. I'll give you a small example. Discovered cult before I joined, I mean, I used to work out with cult and now I work at cult. That's what I, keep saying to everybody. But it's just beautiful how, and I used to pet sit very frequently during the COVID period. So I was never, sort of in my house. I was in different locations across Bangalore. But my fitness never really halted, because as a cult center. So I could just resume whichever I'm. Sometimes I'm in Jainagar, sometimes I'm in Cooktown, sometimes in Rana. But my fitness didn't take a stall because I was pursuing one of my passions, right? And I think that accessibility that everyone should have a chance to be consistent. I think that's what we really, really are able to bring to life. And at the very core, we represent, consistency and movement every day. Whatever your form of movement is you choose, but we'll be able to help you be consistent at it because that's the programming that we've done at our end. And that's just really the beauty of this brand. It just enables you to be consistent, move every day in the way you want to be. So while, cult fit represents being better every day by virtue of working out every day, and this is how you find your form and you choose your form. Where we come in at cult store is we have a ecosystem of, products that can enable you to get to that better version of you, right? So whether you want better footwear, you want better apparel, you want to extend your workout at home, you want accessories, we have the whole range. You want to explore a new workout altogether and you want to do cycling, we also have that. So I think that, end to end sort of touch points, which is, where do we meet the brand at the fitness division is really nice. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to be a part of this brand, that I've not, like, I've seen a lot of different brands in the fitness space try to crack it. And I think Cult has done something really beautiful here, just making it accessible to everybody.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I have to admit, like, I've been a active cult user for quite some time,
Right.
and we also got cult passes for all our employees who are working out of Bangalore office, actually. So yeah, I think what you said, I used to work out at cult, and then I used to work at cult. I think pretty much everyone in the tech circle in Bangalore, I think, will be whoever is joining new. I think will be always be saying that, I guess. Right?
Yes. Yes.
That's great, actually. Now, I think in the cult store, when I was checking, I think you have products of all ranges, right? All the way from 500 rupees t-shirts to maybe 50,000 rupees equipments for gym equipments and so on. So, how do you sort of maintain that consistency in messaging all across, especially in couple of things? Because like as a cult fit as a brand or like as a product, it focuses on consistency and so on. On the other hand, probably not all the products that you have is focused on that. Some are probably going to give you some added benefits in the store, right? So how do you take care of messaging of that? Do you have category-based messaging, or is the messaging common across the brand, Anita? And how do you tackle that?
So it's a very challenging, project that I do have right now, which is, yeah, the at the very base, right? So how we look at it rather is that what we stand for is movement, and consistency is obviously the core of the brand. But at the very nucleus, cult is about fitness and movement, right? If you're moving, you are obviously, then becoming a fitter version, a better version of you. And
Mm.
that movement does not, that ethos does not change for any category. It might change meaning. For example,
Mm.
footwear will have different forms of movement. Apparel will represent different form of movements. Indoor equipment is movement indoors, right?
Mm.
People who prefer working out from home because of different constraints or time constraints, or they don't want to go outside. So, but at the very core, they still represent, movement and fitness. So we keep that in mind. And then
Mm.
what that kind of, spells out for each category is how I sort of bifurcate. So for accessories, it's about enhancing and, sort of whatever you're doing right now, it's a plus one, right? So you want to go to the gym, you have a bag, you need a bag, we got a bag. You want to sort of upgrade your gym movements or you want to upgrade your workouts at home, we have a resistance band. So there's a lot of empowering and enhancing. So enhancing becomes a very, critical point of view from an accessories point of view. For
Yes.
footwear, right? You want to train at cult, we have the footwear for that. You want to train outside, we have the footwear for that. So, we keep sort of punching in on accessibility and we keep punching in on movement. And then we bring in the categories, strengths over there. But it never changes for any category at the ethos. We just change narrative as per the products that we need to change it for. We keep, sort of even in our imagery, for example, you'll see someone, who's moving, is in a state of movement versus posing, right? Or is about to go to the gym. So there is that
Mm.
some subtle sort of
Oh.
storytelling that we, or, kind of make sure. So if they are posing, then they are probably posing on a badminton court, which means they would have done a match. So it's stuff like this that we kind of make sure. And there are some misses I will not deny, right?
Mm.
I'm sure someone who's listening will be like, "Ye to this image is not that way," I'm sure that will be those mistakes, but that's where we come in, and that's the brand guardrails that we want to also
Sure.
put in. So yeah, that's hope
Sure.
that answers your question. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This guardrail is something that spans across your performance or growth creatives or
Yeah.
your branding, messaging, and everything else.
Absolutely. Because for us, it's growth, and we have these different nomenclatures, right? Growth and CRM and email and all of it. But the customer does not see these different technicalities, right? For them, it's
Yeah.
one. So yeah, we make sure that we try to do it into it. Yeah.
Got it. Got it, Anita. So now, how much of, let's say, flexibility do you give to your creative team in experimenting this? Do you like, are you someone who sort of, let's say, creates a playbook and says that it has to, everything that goes out has to strictly resonate with this, or there is just general guardrails, guidelines in terms of maybe fitness and movement as ethos, and then you try to navigate that through? How does your brand guarding or like creative flexibility look like?
So I think the only absolute must do that we follow together is that we have to make sure that we represent fitness, we stand for fitness, we stand for movement, right?
Mm.
We never want to sort of stay away from that. So
Okay.
experimentation is great. And I always believe that the only way we can punch above our weight is to do something that we've not done before. So
Mm.
there is no sort of, restriction. I don't believe in restricting anyone who comes from a creative background to say, do only
Sure.
this. You cannot box that, right? I do not want that environment either. So everyone's open to experimentation. Everyone is welcome to experiment. In fact, we want people to experiment as long as they remember what they're trying to do and who they're
Mm.
trying and what is the conversation we're trying to have. So we are very, very pro experimentation. I definitely encourage it.
Got it. Got it. And these experiments, like, how do you sort of conduct? Like, is there any, let's say, a framework that you follow for doing these experiments? And do you measure these experiments on a timely basis? And if so, how frequently you do that?
So one of the ways that we sort of experiment is in our day to day is, we try different things on our app, banners, right? Where we, sort of look at engagement as a sort of metric to check if whatever we experimenting with, is it even hitting the notes that we wanted to hit, right? That is at a more sort of day to day BAU level. And since I've joined last year, my team, 3, 4 of us have done something that culture's never done before, right? And we consciously did not immediately boost it. We just wanted to check what sort of ripple it can create, tiny as it, right? We wanted to see what kind of organic conversation it can create. And these were all bets, right? We were taking bets and we were trying to figure out whether this is even hitting the notes that we wanted to hit. We did a festive film, during the period of October last year at a cultural level. And it was a completely new sort of tonality and vision and never done before ever in cult. In fact, I was very, very nervous. Is this something that might do wonders for? And typically, when you do a brand film or a brand campaign, you look at how many, what was your organic delta? You look at, how many views, what was your view rate, etc., right? Of course, we, got some decent numbers and we boosted it 3, 4 days later. We didn't boost it immediately. What it did do though was for us, it got us a lot of bragging rights in the athlete community, which was what is the metric I want to chase. Will take people who really, really want to move. Can I appeal to them? Because they sort of become my community of validators, right? And if I can appeal to their sensibilities, right, then I know I'm doing something right. And then I'm sort of being making content or making brand relatable to them, right? And I think that is what the metric I chase. How much of community unlock of folks who really are interested in movement can I unlock that? That's the metric I am chasing, which is a very difficult metric to actually they might be interested in you, but they may never interact with you. But it's a long term serving goal. So after this film, a lot of folks, athletes started reaching out to us. Hey, we would like to collaborate with you. We would like to create content with you. Why don't we figure out some sort of collaboration? So this was exactly what I was hoping would happen. And this gives me a lot more range now. I'm not just creating standard, here's my product, here's me, sort of, but I'm making a little more relevant content because I'm unlocking more top funnel in that sense. So, yeah, so this is one experiment we tried at our end. The creative team keeps experimenting with a lot of different AI tools and artwork. And whenever they've done a very out of the box experimentation, it's really worked for us. It's given us good numbers, both on engagement, both on sales. So I feel that while you maintain the guardrails, you should let your team sometimes do a little bit different because your guardrails really mean well to you. They may not, the customers really reacting to a very different, algorithm. So, yeah.
Got it, Anita. So, let's say, can I understand how is the team structured in terms of, let's say, the creative, the brand, and the growth, and so on? Like, what are common, let's say, resources, and so on?
So we have a creative head and she oversees the whole creative team, which is a combination of designers, graphic designers, motion video folks, video editors, 3D modeling folks, and writers, copywriters. So that's the team. And in my team, I have brand person overseeing a category. So my counterpart oversees footwear. I also have someone for apparel and someone for equipment. And this is a lean team as of now. Hopefully, we hope to, as we do bigger and bigger, we may increase the team. And we have someone overseeing influencer and social media and community is one person. Right now, my intent is to keep this team size the same and to sort of use this year to unlock more and then deep dive as and when we need to deep dive. So I've been very, very, sort of careful about how I've hired and how I've not also hired. So I've taken my time to calibrate over that. And once I figured out my system and figured out how we can get things done, I've gone ahead and made my hires. Yeah.
Got it. Got it, Anita. So, let's say if Cult Store has to cut the growth budget, performance marketing budget by 50% next year in a hypothetical scenario. So, in that scenario, what would be the growth levers, brand growth levers that you would pull off of, let's say, sustain the growth or to sort of, let's say, catch up to the imbalance there, Anita? What would be that from your end?
See, I think acquisition and, how many people are actually historically even buying a product, right? That metric, which is your add to cart journeys, right? So if growth budgets are cut, then we just consistently, any person in the brand team, their only metric is how much top funnel are you bringing in the system and that is our responsibility, right? So I've always thought about this, right? That how like other brands, when especially D2C brands, right? Um, it's actually very cliche. You would have heard, you will hear every brand person, every marketing person say that, right? But if the customer doesn't find your product relevant, no matter how much money you pump in, or how much money you don't have, they're not going to buy it, right? So if growth budgets get cut, then we absolutely then have to, very very punchier content. And what I feel happens is in the journey of putting in a lot of performance marketing budget, right? Because you have to sort of put in a lot of it's a content scale, right? It's a scale game, the volume game. More amount of content you have, the more amount of videos you have, the more audiences you reach, right? And it's a constant. The challenges that all of us face, including me, is that in the chase to do a volume game, how much of it is relevant versus how much of it is just ticking the boxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when our marketing budget's cut, we need to tick the boxes now. Each content has to be then carefully made because you're adding time. You don't have the luxury of money, so you have to really like pull in your absolute best creative folks and crack your hack marketing, which I feel comes into play only when budgets are. My way of working has always been that hack marketing has to be a always on and not only when budgets are cut. So my journey, my trajectory, Surendra, has always been that I've always been in brands that did not want to go high on in the initial year on growth or on brand. So hack marketing was the only thing I know,
Okay.
right? So it's easy. I feel it's always easy to do a brand campaign at a 20 CR or a whatever CR and pump and bring in the brand ambassador and all of that. It's just about good strategic thinking and bringing in the right agency and all of that. But really are tested when you don't have budgets and then you need to like figure out what to do. So that's what I do. I look at metrics like how many people am I able to still unlock in top funnel, how many A to C I'm doing, add to cart I'm doing still with hacks in the whole journey. What is my retention now looking like? Those metrics cannot change even when budgets cut. So yeah, that's pretty much how I will. Hopefully, my budgets are never cut, but yeah.
Sure, got it. So basically, the you would always want to have some sort of restraints that you would want to operate on within, and so that you sort of keep innovating on hacks or
Yeah,
hack marketing and so on.
yeah, absolutely.
Got it. So, is there any occasion, Anita, where your growth marketing team, or rather, like for the growth marketing efforts, you have felt that some of your brand messaging has been compromised, or you have felt that there has been some sort of damage that was done because of some of the growth efforts made, Anita? And can you highlight one or two of them?
So I think in terms of, the messaging going a little, I think I won't say it was off. I would say that it probably is a lot more salesy, right? Which is obviously a requirement of the platform versus a requirement of the brand, right? And even big brands have to, sometimes just say what they need to say without putting in too much of storytelling, right? I think even now, but off lately, and it's not off lately actually, all of your paid marketing, platforms, Meta and all, they continually want relevance in content, even if it's a sales performance content, will deprioritize. I think in a year, such content, no matter how much you pump in, will be deprioritized, at least to your audiences, right? It's important you know who your audiences are. But increasingly, the more you say X% off or X% on or whatever, that will drive sales for sure. But your overall acquisition might get affected. So I think the challenge for us right now will be to sort of find that sweet spot, even in our sales communications, without diluting the sales messaging. So for me, sometimes I don't want to say 40% off or 30% off, right? Is there a better way to say it without saying it? So I think that's the deviation for me, right? That how do we not just be, how do we communicate our brand ethos and how do we communicate what we want to say through these very specific sales creatives where we have had some, sort of challenges in, and some experimentation also has been tried. So we've had those. What we evaluated is that, for example, around New Year's, we wanted to, obviously every brand will have some sort of New Year offers and things like that. So what we did was instead of just having influencers, which is a very, very critical channel of marketing for us, we instead of just saying, hey, it has XYZ, we just told them, that our story is about, what our vision is for 2026. Can they also speak about it? And maybe if the maybe just 5 to 10% of the video should be about the product. The rest of it should be for your story and your vision for 2026, and let the product be a very subtle integration, which was not how we were doing it earlier. And this really helped us. So now we are sort of going down this road and, letting influencers do their business. And this is actually the brainchild of, as in the idea, the brainchild is of our creative team. And then our growth marketing, my growth marketing partner, she basically drove this end to end, and she's really seeing the results there. So yeah, these are some experiments we've tried, and hopefully it works out.
Got it, Anita. So I think your cult store as a entity or like as the retail part, like I think you are in a extremely competitive space, right? So you have, I think, one end you have brands like Nike, Adidas, who have been like known brand for a long period with a uh, larger number of SKUs and so on. And on the other hand, you have celebrity-led brands like HRX and so on, who are also probably, let's say, taking some of your or competing with you in some of the categories. And then you also have the modern age brands who are, let's say, more DTC oriented and so on and so forth. I think this space, I think you'd also naturally be required to do a lot of discount-led messaging in a lot of your creatives, as well as you should often keep rolling out offers and so on and so forth. How do you balance between uh, offer-based, sale-based kind of narration and messaging, and also the brand-led or category-led messaging, Anita? Have you felt that uh, of course, margin is going to be a issue, but apart from margin, have you, let's say, have you felt that this is a really bad strategy for compromising on the brand value and so on with respect to offer-based messaging and so on? What is your thought?
So in general, I think, whatever works for the revenue, right? I mean, at the end of the day, revenue needs to come in. So if the strategy so far has been very performance driven, very offer driven, right? And it's maintained the books, then for sure, that should not be sidelined. But need to augment that now, right? And I think the brand team in that sense has to, which is why I use the word hack marketing, right? See, until you really, really, if our challenge is to acquire, and our challenge is to bring down also cost of acquisition, we will remain a cost center. Performance is not really cost center because performance is also bringing in revenue. But brand becomes a cost center until it optimizes, right? Which is why hack marketing is so important in the year one and year two for any brand joining a system like that, to sort of do small experiments to bring in people, to bring in awareness who can sort of do word of mouth for you, right? And not only influencer marketing in general. You know, at a strategic level, you cannot stop what's bringing revenue, but what you should do rather is find opportunities that are not, you know, heavy on, budget. Obviously, a TV campaign, a brand ambassador, a very heavy duty outdoor campaign. These things need a lot of money. And historically, you need to do it over and over again. One offs do not work, right? Unless it's a very, very interesting viral campaign, which takes off, which are bets that you place, right? But my answer to your question would be that, if you're confident to bring in a creative partner and you can really rally behind that idea that, let's put, like, say, what, 40 lakhs on a outdoor campaign, by all means, but have a strong distribution plan for that then, which is not going to be 40 lakhs additional, right? So how do you hack your outdoor campaign? How do you hack your big campaigns? Or how do you make hack and always on is really, really important. This is exactly what we're doing right now. We're just trying to figure out opportunities and pockets to do interesting brand marketing versus to support performance. Because so far the funnel has been filled up, right? Now we need to bring in more. So we obviously do not want revenue to take a, to sort of stop coming in, right? Yeah. So from a strategic level, I feel that they both need to go hand in hand, and brand needs to catch up faster. Like performance will optimize after a particular time. But like, even when the reason I said how customer views is not performance versus growth, right? They just see one asset. So what are we doing in our performance assets also? Maybe how do we optimize costs there? Do we need to spend X amount? What, and content plays a big role here then, right? Your distribution plays a big role here also. So the audiences you're talking to, have you spoken to new audiences? So these are small, small experiments that really can sort of make performance more relatable, more relevant to the brand. And brand can they play a bigger role here. I don't think these two are separate functions. So yeah.
Got it. That's a great point of view. In fact, when you spoke about the platforms, a couple of things there. One is uh, we do see a lot of performance marketing content strategy going through a massive change, especially with respect to the platform updates like Meta and Google updates. I'm sure you would have heard about the latest change in the way how these platforms distribute content and so on, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know, like, if there is any significant impact with respect to the brand content as well, with respect to these platforms, as well as with respect to the latest changes that these platforms have imposed, Anita.
I think the impact we're seeing is now we just cannot get away with, talking about us all the time. It's not working at all.
Sure.
I think it was very gradual, like, earlier, where go badak, make the logo bigger or talk about us, right? And somehow the platforms would allow that because, maybe that was a kind of audience as well. But there's a shift now. And the shift is very rapid, right?
Yeah.
It's not like it'll happen in a year. It's happening in a month. Um, any creator, right, that is just boring, and by boring I mean this is me and this is my product and this is whatever, right, just historically will not do anything for you. You have to, you have to appeal to the width of the consumer. You have to appeal to their humor. You have to appeal to what they prefer seeing, right? And that's the impact that I'm seeing, that our performance creators or any, even on social, right? If a lot of influencers are talking about their products, we see organic really going down because audiences just don't want to constantly know about your product. They just want to like
Yeah.
fun with you, right? And when you come into the algorithm, right, just like you and me, right, you come into the algorithm and you see like some random influencer doing something. It's random for them, right? They don't care,
Yeah.
right? Well, I don't want to see this. So you scroll. So we're competing for 2 seconds, right? And
Yeah.
I worked for this long, Surendra, and I finally realized, what customers feel when they see people do things that are out of turn. So I follow, a particular influencer. Because she's got like really good opinions and she's very, very, strong in the way she talks about things and she's very intelligent. And she did she does influencer, collabs. She does a lot of makeup and stuff like that. But her reviews are very, 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 very straightforward. Like, they're not like, typical, right? If she likes something, well, probably she'll mention it. Which is why that's probably 2% of her content also. She doesn't do it all the time. So
Okay.
recently she did something with a chain of hotels and it was a very typical influencer video. So, I've been reading that customers get turned off when their favorite influencer does something. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's just an influencer. What's the big deal? I felt it this time. And I've been around long enough in digital marketing. And I'm like, why am I feeling that? And then I realized that we actually, at some sort, form a camaraderie with a brand individually in our head, right? And we form a camaraderie with influencers too. That I want that this person's content is in my life, and if this person's content makes me feel X, I could feel happy, I could feel good, I could be informed. But the moment that this person does something that's out of turn, I do not want to associate. I'm like, okay, this is not good enough for me. So I think that is where brands and even all of us need to remember, right?
Yeah.
That we just cannot be talking, doing typical stuff anymore. And what is typical
Yeah.
today or atypical today will be typical tomorrow. So I think because of the overload that's happening, which is also going against us, right? Everyone's doing
Yeah.
everything, right? It becomes even more cliched advice to become more relatable, to become more raw, to be more you. Don't try to be something that you're not, because obviously people like tier two influencers, why is tier one cheering for them? Because they feel that at least this is not made up shit, this is authentic. And authenticity is such a it's a luxury at this point
Yeah.
on this. So, yeah.
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
the challenge we're seeing, that our my product and me is just not working. Influencers doing your product and me is also not working. Make it more about their life, the customer, and maybe the product needs to be like 2% of the video. Which I know a lot of brand managers and growth managers and categories, how does not work like that anymore. So
No, great. I think, yeah, this is a great point actually. Like how sort of you get even offended or like get unhinged to a particular influencer when you see the content is off, or like when you see something being probably little samey and so on, right? So I think and thinking about it, we work with the brands, a lot of brands too, understand how their content is resonating with the audience, and more importantly how these platforms are taking signal from their content, right? So I think it's a two-way around, where whatever you feel is going to resonate in terms of your behavior in the application, be it Instagram or any other platform.
Yeah.
And that is a signal that directly goes in, and of course, yeah, at the end of the day it comes back to the fundamentals of relatability and the
Yeah.
fundamentals of what you want to consume rather than wanting to be sold, right? Great, great. Yeah, sure, Anita. That's
Yeah.
great. Can you highlight one experiment that you guys did, probably that didn't work out the way how you thought it would work out? One failed experiment, maybe?
Failed experiment, typically we do. I mean, in terms of experiment, I was hoping that, it worked out differently. I won't call it a failure. I referenced it earlier in the conversations. We did that film during Diwali, right? And we were hoping for it to, sort of go viral. And, because of the technique we used in the video, we used a Mokobot and it was a rotating dais. And there was not a single actor. No actors were used in the video. They all are athletes, had calisthenics folks, parkour, we had dancers, we had contortionists, we had B girls. So there was not a single actor. They were authentic athletes who are experts in their field. So we did not put any distribution monies in it either, right? And we thought that because of the nature of the film, will probably do really, really, and by really, really well. Like everyone will be talking about it, which was what the intended outcome for us was. But the outcome, and so it didn't do that. So that was a failure for us. But the outcome that we instead got was that it activated a community we were not able to activate before. So a lot of skateboarders, a lot of runners, a lot of parkour guys, b-boying and b-girls, they all reached out to us and said we would like to collaborate with you. And that was that for me, best fitness is a community, right? And
Yeah.
activating communities is one of the biggest, not challenges, but biggest, wins for a brand. Challenge also, but it's the biggest win for a brand, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of set our way of doing social from there on. So now how we look at it is when people reach out to us, we kind of work out challenges with them. What can we do? We figure out a barter system with them, or we figure out a more longer IP situation with them, which we were not really doing prior. So a lot of it was prior to the festive for them was just more influencer content, our content. And now you'll see that we are kind of reaching out to more. Eventually, you'll see a lot of more athletes will be collaborating with us. Some of them are from small towns. Some of them are from, some of them are young as well, like 20-year-olds, 6-year-olds, right? So this is a win for us. It was not the intended win, but I feel that now it will definitely, now we can keep referencing and it still gets spoken about. Hey, that was really nice. And a lot of athletes still reach out to us like, hey, we want to do something similar. So, that for me is I wish I got both outcomes, but I still got one. And yeah, so let's see, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. That's great learning, and I think that's a great unlock as well. So now, in this era, right, I think things can be measured more often than what you were able to do earlier. Like we at Hockey, we help measure the content of marketing content, basically, right? Branding, performance content, and so on. Now,
Sure.
internally, if you have to probably, let's say, today say that. These are the kind of data that I would always measure with respect to content before I launch something big, right? What would that be? So, which is, let's say, non-negotiably, you will measure that before doing something big, if you have to say it like that.
It's an interesting question. Before I mean, it's something I'm always, chasing overall, that in everything that we're doing on the paid marketing front versus, which is a quantity game also, right? So if I'm doing 50 things on paid marketing, I should be doing 200 things on brand, for example. And that organic delta needs to come from 200 things that I'm doing on brand. So what is the organic delta that I'm able to, provide is a North Star for me at all points. So that will also be the North Star when I'm about to unlock something. So if, say, for example, in the festive period, which is between, September to December, when there are many sales happening, yada, yada, etc., what am I going to be doing there that can give me an incremental, acquisition delta on on our own channel, that can give me organic delta on social because of XYZ that we're doing, that or can give me a sort of a boost in the number of people who want to collaborate with me. So these three are my year-long, lifelong goals in any brand, right?
Sure.
Because organic for me is somebody wants to genuinely follow you for no other reason than the fact that they are building affinity to you, which is, uh, only metric that matters to me, because I did not spend to get you into the system. You came out of your own accord because you feel that this brand makes sense to you, right? That is what I generally always tell even my team. That is someone is, and in your micro metrics, right? So we'll take social media because social media is the most visible brand channel for every brand, right? The amount of, relevant conversations, right? On your feed, people really interacting with your brand, taking the time out of their day to comment is a big deal for a brand. I would really underestimate that. People bookmarking it, small metric, huge, huge, huge. We look at CTR and we look at all of those view through rates and all, but what we really, you need to look at the additionally, what did the person do? He bookmarked it or she sent it to somebody,
Yeah.
which is added effort, extra effort from me as a customer. So I always, look at how many saves, how many bookmarks, how many relevant conversations, someone talking, with the brand, someone, it's like the brand is, why do I comment? Because I want the brand to notice me. I'm your fan. I'm your fan. Like I do it myself, There are a lot of these athletes that I go and, interact with because I really look up to them.
Yeah.
And like, you're really inspirational, whatever. Why do I do it? Because I want them to also, I also want validation from the brand. Do you see I'm your fan? And I think we really underestimate these little pockets of, effort from the customer to want to interact with us. If you go after that, you will really fix how you look at what you're looking at. You will really fix that. And whenever I give this point of view to my social team or creative team, you don't look at kitna amazing CTR hai, right? Because that's something you'll always get one way or the other. You put a hook point there, and like whatever, spin the bottle. It is a hook point. It will get you CTR, but that's not the long term metric you should ever chase. So you should chase, I guess, organic is someone coming and wanting to spend time with you. If yes, then we are humans,
Yeah.
right? We have a lot happening. So if I'm taking 1 second out of my life, please buy for that 1 second of their time. So yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Got it. Great. Great, Amita. So, how does your where all do you use the AI in your marketing? Maybe in a day to day or like in the entire life cycle, right? All the way from research, analysis, content creation, or publishing, or experimentation. So, what all, where all do you use AI, and can you name a few tools that you use today?
Well, I think my creative team uses AI way more frequently and for scaling
Yeah.
basically production work, right?
Sure.
So for one of our brands, Avant, before we had support of a social media arm, our designer was creating all videos out of, Higgsfield, or social media driven videos, small brand videos for topical moments like, Children's Day or Mother's Day or things like that,
Yeah.
right? Teachers Day, sorry, completely AI driven. So again, Higgsfield is one of the most commonly used tools in my org because it's a
Sure.
very easy tool to use. It gives great output. So we use it across graphic creation. We use it on all channels for performance, for app. We also use it for video creation. We've also recently tied up with a small agency to do with small consultants more than agencies to kind of give us scale because we needed like a lot of product videos, how to
Yes.
use product. So
Yeah.
does even there. So a lot of video and static creation. From a brand research point of view, I mean, I'm a ChatGPT person, so I prefer using ChatGPT a lot. I think I use it as my to-do, I use it as my organizer, everything. And it's a fairly commonly used tool in my team. We also sometimes want to create mood boards and storyboards. So we use Hixfield to do that. Even my agencies use, different like Gemini to create Claude or Gemini to create like storyboards when earlier PPMs used to be,
Yeah.
hand drawn or, referencing. And now the shift I am seeing where I would be like, I want to do PPM tomorrow. And they just like, yeah, it'll happen. And it happens, because PPM usually would take time, like 2, 3 days easily. But now storyboarding is so much more faster because you're able to actually help the team visualize, because not everybody can visualize as easily as I can or the brand team can, right? So storyboarding has become so much more faster, which is thankfully a very AI, specific. Obviously, you need your creative guys, right, to drive that storyboard. Without that, it would not help. But yeah, usually it's in this process, in the storyboarding process, mood boarding. I use ChatGPT for, sort of writing content or just giving some sort of insight, opening insights, writing a brief, or putting together, some sort of process, team processes, SOPs. I use ChatGPT a lot for that. And creative team uses Xfield end to end. They are using a lot more tools, but I know for a fact that Xfield is commonly used in our team. Yeah.
So you mentioned about the shift that is happening in the PPM to the overall storyboarding part of it, right? So
Yeah.
there are a lot of such shifts happening, both in terms of measuring, in terms of production, in terms of scaling, and everything else, right? So do you also see any changes to the organization of the team, or let's say the way how people are let's say put together in a team, or split into different teams and so on. So do you see that happening? What is already happening? What do you see happening very soon?
It's already happening. So at an individual level, anybody who tinkers with AI is a preferred hire. It's preferred candidate, a system, and is a preferred hire, because we do not look at they should not, and we should not look at AI as, sort of a threat to our job situation. We should look at it as an enhancer, and how can I do more, and how can I create faster, or how can I just create new. So anyone in the team who is, tinkering, I- I'm not even saying expert. If you're okay to tinker, it means you're okay to expand your, output. And in the team, I can identify 3, 4 folks who are very thorough with AI. They use it very extensively, and their output is far better than the ones who don't. So the ones who traditionally still depend on traditional ways of creation, the ones who use AI and traditional are far better in output. And they get a lot more creative, sort of fluency over there. And even when we're hiring, we just completed some hires for junior roles in our creative team. And the guy who's, looking at the video piece, he said that I'm hoping to learn a lot from this person, because you're very AI friendly, very AI agile. And that's very refreshing, right? Because you have a set of people who just, still use AI to create statics or whatever. We right now see, like, we need a lot of cut downs, right? In terms of, your masters, and then you have different, cut downs of that. And if we are still using manual labor to do cut downs as of 2026, when Adobe themselves have a, built-in AI feature for that. It really is telling of how advanced the designer is in research, right? So it really puts us back. And if we want to scale, if we want the person to scale, and if we want to scale our design output, it is just not going to be helpful that a designer is not willing to or does not know of. Even when we're doing cataloging, right? There's only these many shoots you can physically do in a certain period of time when you have 100 products coming in at the same time in different categories. Obviously, one option would have been to have 100 agencies doing it for you. But as of date, if you want to be agile, you need to know how to create backgrounds, create simulations, and then upload them in your catalog. And the fact that we get this agility and are able to, like, sort of, deliver on timelines, our catalog team is supremely very, very efficient, very AI friendly, very systematically using it to deliver output, and they're doing a fabulous job out of it. AI is a plus for us. It is, I would be very worried if the person says, I can't use AI, it's not my scene. I would not hire that person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Definitely. Anit. I think one really great point that you mentioned was to not see the AI as a threat. I mean, of course, how can you see a tool that's going to make you more efficient to be a threat, right? Of course. And I don't think there is no other way to think about it, actually, right?
Well,
So I think that has to be the way there. And particularly with respect to the team structure or the team organization, right? What do you think probably has to change for the first era of marketing, or a first era of doing work in general?
well, to start with, the person leading the team should be agile. So somebody like me. or the creative head, if I cannot create, I should not have the audacity to expect the team to create then, right? I think everybody in the marketing function should know what to do if they
Okay.
push comes to shove and they had to make a storyboard, they had to make a video, they had to make a static, they should know how to do it.
Mm.
I think it starts there. I think this whole, I am here just to delegate business does not work anymore. I don't work like that. I not want that system and culture to be there, right? Like create a team, come karega, brand karega. Doesn't work like that. So it needs to start from there, structure wise, that everybody should be AI first and AI friendly. Only so that, when you're required to come together and put together something, everyone is putting in their 500% and not 50%, right? Obviously, designers will do a far better job than I will, no telling. There's no doubt about that. But if I am able to tell them the brief in an AI manner versus a Word document, I think it is faster optimization of time. It's so,
Right.
versus drawing it on paper and saying, "Mujhe ye chahiye, ye chahiye." If I can just quickly prompt engineer and just send it to them, this is what I'm looking at. The brief changes there.
Yeah.
So in terms of structure, yeah, everyone should be familiar with how to use these tools, at least the most important tools. And in terms of, I think, structure, people who can, we look at heavy production and heavy, in D2C, there's a lot of production work happening on video, right? So I think video has always been a very favored content, format for any medium in marketing. So just focus on everyone knowing how to create videos. There will be people who know how to create the good ones, and there'll be people who will just do the basic ones. But everyone in a creative team, right from writers to designers to editors to the motion guys to the actual video guys, everyone needs to know how to make a basic video,
Got it.
right?
Got it.
So that's how I would and using AI, then how they can. So basic video editing and basic AI modeling is really something that so in our team, for example, that the graphic designers know how to create small format videos. They obviously don't know it in the way that the other guys do, right? But
Yeah.
what I'm also seeing, Surendra, is that right now there are full stack designers who can do everything.
Yeah.
I think just like how we have full stack developers, we'll have full stack creative folks also, people who can
That's right.
write, people who can design, and they will probably punch heavier on writing versus say a designing, which is fine. But they should know how to do it. Would be a very, I think, most sought after hire going forward, right? Which is, I think, also requires on the brand side, right? Because if you're able to see, like, we have a designer in our team who actively participates in, writing scripts, like he attempts it, and very happy to see that, output from a designer. You would go to a writer,
Yeah.
but this is exactly what is the future, right? People, a lot of folks think that creative is dying because AI is coming in. I just see a shift in the way we are shaping creative teams. So we are building that internally, where everyone is at least adept at doing the basics of creative, basics of AI, and then obviously you do whatever you're hired to do the
Correct.
best. These two is a foundation of our structure for sure.
Sure. So more like a T-shaped kind of a designer who
Yes.
can go the breadth, but probably is more a specialist in one
Yes.
part. Got it, Anita. Great. So I used to have this question to a lot of performance marketing heads that I have spoken to, or head of, uh, let's say, marketing kind of people that I've spoken with. Right now, the way how the teams are structured, you have one creative team, which is common, that is common pool that helps both the branding team as well as the growth team. And the creative cycles of the teams actually depend on the, let's say, the rollout cycle of the campaigns as well as the other content calendar of the brand team and so on and so forth, right? You come across as someone who really understands the way how the platforms are working right now and how what are the changes that have gone through right now. So, do you see a better way of organizing the creative teams, let's say, with respect to the content that they are creating, right? Because I think now one of the things that we see across is the performance content. I think you also spoke about that at length. Performance content should not be extremely salesy. It has to be heavily the person led or persona led, which is pretty much what brand content also should be. So I think the difference between a branding content and performance content is actually sort of getting vanished, or let's say it's coming together, right? So what should be the ideal way of setting up content team for the brand, both design and content, right? So should it be the way how it is done? Is it the right way, or is there a better or ideal way?
So I'll tell you about this change I've seen in the past maybe 4 years, right, or 5 years at best. Earlier we used to have a creative director and then associate creative director and so on and so forth. And what I'm seeing in, especially, and this is a norm I'm seeing in B2C companies, right, in consumer tech companies, is they have a performance creative strategist slash performance creative director. The person's role is to only do performance end to end, right? And then you have a sort of a brand or other creative director for social, right? Where, or for everything non-performance, right? Which was the
Sure.
structure so far. I think going forward, or rather, what I would feel would be a great structure is paid creative director and organic creative director. So the organic creative director is working very closely with the brand team to do organic unlocks, right? Where your only cost is production cost and not any other cost, which
Yeah.
means your scale is very huge. You have to look for opportunities everywhere. And your paid creative director is looking at affiliate, looking at CRM, looking at acquisition funnel and retention funnel, and then looking optimizing those journeys, right? In terms
Mm,
of,
mm,
and then I think why these two don't need to exist is because one is attempting to bring in a lot more people in the system from not spending a lot, which helps the brand team, not the brand marketing, not become a cost center, but more an
mm.
optimization center, right?
Sure.
And optimizing what you're paying for, right? So these two will really need to work together. Right now, I feel that we really look at creative directors, one, what is the color, what is the vision, what is the tonality, what is the branding, blah, 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 right? But I think we need to look at it as typically how a marketing head also looks at it. Yeah, I have organic folks and I have paid folks and they have budgets associated with them, right? So although we would do a 360-degree brand campaign, which would be your distribution campaign to your main launch campaign, right? What is your store saying? What is your TV saying? What is it? That does not work anymore.
Mm,
I think everything is a distribution channel by itself. So you could do something something at the EBO level from an organic point of view. So my brief to the organic director would be that, hey, I need to do an always on for social, for EBO, for even own website, what
sure.
kind of ideas can we unlock that will bring in a lot more people into the funnel and increase awareness and affinity. Awareness and
Mm,
affinity will be their metrics. And
mm.
for paid, it will be your usual metrics, which is view through rates and CTRs and everything. But when these two sort of work together holistically, it will really see a lot of more output, good output, and performance will start looking a lot better
Mm,
because this particular person will be just driving organic. So,
mm.
and then obviously your these two guys are looking at their functions, and then you have an overarching creative director who's making sure that the narrative is same across board.
Yeah.
So that is actually what I feel is a relevant structure. At least for going forward, I would want to drive it that way because one person overseeing everything without looking at specialization in where how you're acquiring customers is really not the way to drive marketing in
Mm.
people at all. It's just not going to work.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, great, Anita. I think this was really great so far, actually. I have
Thank you.
two quick questions before I let you go.
Hmm.
One is, if you were to recommend someone else to also be a part of this podcast in the subsequent episodes, can you probably give out a couple of names from top of your head?
To top of my head,
Yeah.
uh, I really think Attenberg. I really feel he just gets whatever everything that he
Yeah.
puts his head into, he gets it.
Yeah.
And Arindam is actually pretty sorted as a person. He's very very clear about how he communicates. He also
Sure.
is into fitness and follows it diligently. I just feel like he's somebody who, he'll say he does something like I'm going to do this and he'll do it.
Mm.
And I think that's a great role model to have, both in
Sure.
marketing and otherwise. So I genuinely feel he's somebody who can really, change the game if he joins the marketing team of any company. So I would recommend him for sure. We don't know each other at all. I follow him, but
Got it.
I really think highly of him. So
Got it.
yeah.
Super. Great, Anita. So, and the final question is, one metric brand marketers should always look at, one metric that is probably underrated today, but should be looked more.
It's the most unquantifiable metric. Like this very randomly somewhere in an article. I don't even remember which article. But brand is not who you are. Brand is what people feel if you ever walked into the room. So if Cult walks
Okay.
into a room, if Cult was a person
Mm.
and Cult walked into a room, what would people feel? And that is bad.
Mm.
It's very unquantifiable, right? How do you
Yeah.
quantify something like that? But
Yeah. Yeah.
puts a lot of things into perspective and it gets you thinking. Like shit.
Sure.
Like, and then, like, for example, let's say there are five people or two people don't know cars, so they'd be like confused. So confusion is
Mm.
something. You chase
Mm.
confusion and you solve for confusion. Two people be like dissatisfied. Two people like, yeah, cult. So many different feelings, right? And I
Yeah.
think those are unquantifiable. And but some brands have got it. Like I say Red Bull, and you and I are feeling the same thing.
Mm.
Adrenaline, along, whoa,
Yeah.
like you have that feeling, right?
Yeah.
That is what is really it's really that what you feel when you hear a brand's name. So that is the unquantifiable metric. Chase that. Chase the feeling
Okay.
you want your customers to feel. See if they match the feeling that you feel they are supposed to feel. And I think you
Sure.
acquired what you know.
Super. Great. Thanks a lot, Anita. This was really great. I really loved talking with you, and I hope you had a great time in this discussion.
And
And really looking forward to collaborate with you further as well. And yeah, thanks for
thank you so much for
connecting
having
with
me.
us.
Thank you. And
Yeah,
it was really nice session. And all the best to you. And hope to see more podcasts from you. Thank you so much.
sure. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Bye.